to the prophetic. First of all, this evening in Goldsboro, I am in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Today in Goldsboro at 7 p.m. on Wayne Memorial Drive, the Starbucks there, I will be hosting a meet and greet. So if you're in the area, anywhere in the area, I know it's Friday and you can get out. I encourage you to come out. I'm happy to pray with anyone who needs prayer and just have a time of fellowship. So, and who knows, maybe we'll do a live. You never know. But anyway, 7 p.m., Wayne Memorial Drive, Goldsboro, North Carolina. If you can be there. I hope you guys can hear me. The reception out here is terrible. I hope you can. Also, like, subscribe, and share our videos. So I want to get right to some of the things that are going on in the geopolitical that tie with the prophetic, because we see prophecies jumping off the pages of the Bible. And over 1,700 prophecies we know have been fulfilled. Over a third of our Bible, if not a third, a half of our Bible is prophetic. And one of the things that is really interesting as I travel, when I talk to people, when we talk about things that are going on in the world, and I can point it back to Bible prophecies like the nations that are in Syria that Ezekiel prophesied 2,500 to 2,800 years ago that will one day come down, but God will protect Israel. We know that to be truth. So many things. The scattering of the nations and the ingathering. In the news right now, it's estimated many Jews from both Ukraine and Russia are immigrating or migrating back. The gathering, it's part of the biblical prophecy of the gathering in these final moments of the end of days. We're seeing it. Israel became a nation on May 14th, 1948. That was the budding of the fig tree that Isaiah talks about. Brothers and sisters, it's real. So we see these things happening. You have the UN and you have NATO and nations warning right now of what to do in case of nuclear fallout and threat of nuclear plants being targeted in Ukraine. You have Xi Jinping, the president of China, who is a strong ally of Vladimir Putin, warning Putin not to strike those nuclear reactors in Ukraine. He's warning him not to do it. Meanwhile, you've got what Daniel 9:27 talks about, right? He, meaning the man of perdition, the Antichrist, will higbir, which is the Hebrew word for will. We translate it, make a covenant. Who's the covenant going to be? With many nations, with Israel. This is during the tribulation period. See, the tribulation is actually casting a shadow into our time period right now. So we have the UAE and Israel who have signed stronger agreements like were presented by the Trump administration. You have China going to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu. Meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu declares that the United States is still its strongest ally. But the reality is, when you see a leader like Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has been a strong supporter of the alliance between the United States and Israel, start to have discussions with other world powers that did not happen prior, you know things are not good. And everything this Biden administration has done and that these leaders are doing right now are anti-Israel. And we know that's anti-biblical. And, you know, I'll tell you what, brothers and sisters, we continue to pray. Stand in the gap. Pray. Pray and pray. Yes, we pray for the United States of America and Israel. We pray for the people that are being hurt in Ukraine and in Russia. These things are really serious. I want to give a shout out to Sister Ashley and Brother Jordan for all the prophecy reporting that they send in to us, because I'm not in this alone. We are in this together. I want to remind you all that there is a prayer, an email in the description box where you can send for prayer. Sister Kathy Hall is amazing. Continue to pray for Sister Kathy and her family, and please, all the moderators. There is a phone number. We have a dedicated phone just for this channel family where you can get prayer and get help. If you need to get a message to me, I know some of you have sent it through to Sister Kathy, but you can also send messages to timhenderson.tv. So back in the news, what else is going on? Solar flares. They're saying a series of solar flares are coming, and you know what happens every time? That impacts the power grids, that impacts the weather, and boy, we have had record-breaking, globally, historically, heat waves like we have never had before. And no, I do not believe it's global warming. I believe it's something else. And I believe that, for instance, we have more earthquakes in a day than we used to have in a decade. And all these natural disasters. These are the beginning of birth pains, or the birth pains, the birth pangs that the Bible talks about. Again, we are at the end of a dispensation. So the tribulation is casting its shadow. When we transition from one dispensation to another, it's not like you're stepping over a log. So we are seeing these things happen right before our very eyes. Israel continues to bomb Iranian, and when I say Iranian, Iran and her proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah, their targets around Damascus. About a week ago, I started reporting that Israel, I know it was on Sunday, I even was sharing with my church family that Israel was looking at targets from the intel that we get, and that has happened. That happened last night. So we've got all of these things that are moving, things that are happening in the news. You've got PETA, the animal rights group that has used artificial intelligence to rewrite the Bible and make it friendly according to their animal rights. You have the Queen James version of the Bible that can be bought now, which is part of that queering the Bible. Basically what they're doing is they're taking out any gender bias. You have more denominations that are falling in line with the LGBTQIA agenda. Many of you have been watching the movie, The Sound of Freedom. Now, we've known for a long time the horrors, and I will tell you, many of you said, Pastor Tim, you need to see it, you need to see it, and so I did. I went and saw it yesterday. I do really appreciate that they did not get into the graphics, because I wouldn't have been able to handle that. But I will tell you that what it represents of the depravity, I can't even think about it. Not only of what I've had shared with me, but what the Lord has shown me that I've been railing against for the years. And when you look at the nation, where it is the biggest, this 150 billion industry a year. And Sister Ashley, thank you for encouraging me about that movie. When you look at 150 billion a year industry and growing, here's the reality. And they bring this out at the end. By the way, the United States is the nation